Hello, I am reading The Equality State book here in Wyoming. Article 3, Section 35, okay? Money expended only on appropriation except for interest on public debt. Money shall be paid out of the Treasury only an appropriation made by the legislature, and in no case otherwise than upon warrant drawn by the proper officer in pursuance of law. Section 36. Prohibited appropriations. No appropriation shall be made for charitable, industrial, educational, or benevolent purposes to any person, corporation, or community not under the absolute control of the state, nor to any denomination or sectarian institution or association. Section 37, Declaration of Power to Perform Municipal Functions Prohibited. The legislature shall not delegate to any special commissioner, private corporation, or association in power to make, supervise, or interfere with any municipal improvements, money, property, or effects, whether held in trust or otherwise, to levy taxes, or to perform any municipal functions, whatever. Article 3, Section 38, Investment or Trust Funds. The legislature may authorize the investment of trust funds by executors, administrators, guardians, or trustees in the bonds or stocks of private corporations, and in such other securities as it may by law provide. This section was amended by a resolution adopted by the 1965 legislature, ratified by a vote of the people at the general election held on November 8, 1966, and proclaimed in effect on January 17, 1967. Section 39, Aid to Railroad Prohibited. The legislator shall have no power to pass any law authorizing the state or any county in the state to contract any debt or obligation in the construction of any railroad, or give or loan its credit to or in aid of the constitution of the same. Section 40. Debts to state or municipal corporation cannot be released unless otherwise prescribed by legislature. No obligation or liability of any person, association, or corporation held by owned by the state of any municipal corporation therein shall ever be exchanged, transferred, remitted, released, postponed, or in any way diminished, except as may be prescribed by the legislature. The liability or obligation shall not be extinguished except by payment into the proper treasury, as may otherwise be prescribed by the legislature in cases where the obligation or liability is not collectible. The section was amended by a resolution adopted by the 1983 legislature, ratified by a vote of the people at the general election held on November 6, 1984, and proclaimed in effect on November 14th, 1984. Article 3, Section 41. Resolution approval or veto. Every order, resolution, or vote in which the concurrence of both houses may be necessary except on the questions of adjournment or relating solely to the transaction of the business of the two houses, shall be presented to the governor, and before it shall take effect, by approved by him or being disapproved by repassed by 2/3 of both houses as prescribed in the case of a bill. Section 42. Bribery or legislators and solicitation of bribery defined. Expulsion of legislator for bribery or solicitation. If any person elected to either house of the legislature shall offer or promise to give his vote or influence in favor of or against any measure or proposition pending or to be introduced into legislature, in considering or upon condition that any other person elected to the same legislature will give or promise or assent to give his vote or influence in favor of or against any other measure or proposition pending or proposed to be introduced into such legislature. The person making such offer or promise shall be deemed guilty of solicitation of bribery. If any member of the legislature shall give his vote or influence for or against any measure or proposition pending or to be introduced in such legislature, or offer promise to assent thereto upon condition that any other member will give or will promise or assent to give his vote or influence in favor of or against any other measure of proposition pending or to be introduced in such legislature, or in consideration that any other member has given his vote or influence for or against any other measure or proposition in such legislature, he shall be deemed guilty of bribery, and any member of the legislature or person elected thereto who shall be guilty of either of such offenses shall be expelled and shall not thereafter be eligible to the legislature and be convicted, and on conviction thereof in the civil courts shall be liable to such further penalty as may be prescribed by law. Section 43. Offers to bribe. Any person who shall directly or indirectly offer, give, or promise any money or or thing of value, testimonial privilege, or personal advantage to any executive or judicial office, sir, or member of the legislature to influence him in the performance of any of his office duties shall be deemed guilty or of bribery, and be punished in such manner as shall be provided by law. Section 44. Witness. In bribery charges, any person may be compelled to testify in any lawful investigation or judicial proceedings against any person who may be charged with having committed the offense of bribery or corruption, solicitation, or practices of solicitations, and shall not be permitted to withhold his testimony upon the ground that it may incriminate himself or subject him to public infamy. But such testimony shall not afterwards be used against him in any judicial proceedings except for perjury in giving such testimony, and any person convicted of either of the offenses aforesaid shall, as part of the punishment therefore, be disqualified from holding any office or position of honor, trust, or profit in this state. Thank you. That was Article 3.